lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you again.
And this week, we're going to talk about
Ruth. Now, Ruth was a really, really special part of God's story. Not just because she was Jesus's great grandmother.
Wow, that's a lot of greats. And Reverend Layla, you've always told me you can't count that high. That is quite really impressive.
I've learnt new skills in lockdown, Reverend Mark.
Wow. The other reason that Ruth is so special, she has a whole book of the Old Testament written about her. So if you go into the Old Testament, there's a book and it's named Ruth, and it's about her life story. Think about all the other people who've done some amazing things in the Bible, but they don't have a whole book named after them.
So Ruth is really, really, really special.
Really, 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 really special.
So, shall we watch the start of the story of Ruth?
I think we should.
God's story, Ruth. So part of God's story is about a woman named Ruth, and it begins like this. Ruth lived in a place called Moab and was married to a guy who was part of God's special family, the Israelites. A few years later, though, Ruth's husband died. Instead of returning to her family, which would have been expected, she stayed with Naomi, her husband's mom. Naomi tried to get Ruth to go back to her family in Moab, but Ruth wouldn't leave Naomi, no matter what. In fact, she wanted to go back to Israel with her. Ruth said, "Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." So they both returned to Naomi's home in Bethlehem. Back then, though, it was hard for women to find work. Usually, they had to be taken care of by their husband or a dad. It's really hard to imagine that now, but Naomi and Ruth might not have even known how they'd survive. At first, to get food, Ruth went to the fields of a man named Boaz and followed his harvesters around. If they dropped anything, even just a piece of grain, she picked it up. This was called gleaning. Ruth worked from morning to night and barely even took a break. Boaz noticed. He told his workers to leave behind some extra grain for her to gather. When Naomi heard about this, she was overjoyed because Boaz was Naomi's relative, and that's a part of God's story.
Wasn't that a really good story to watch?
And it was only the beginning, and it was so good.
It was so good. So Reverend Layla, why does Ruth have a whole book of the Bible named after her?
Well, I think there are two reasons why this might be. And the first reason is because Ruth wasn't actually from the same place as Naomi, which meant that when she decided to go with her, she actually was really brave, and she chose to leave her land and her home and other people in her family and move with Naomi back to Israel, to Bethlehem. And we all know about Bethlehem.
We hear about that at Christmas.
We do. And also, with her looking after Naomi, she worked really, really hard in the fields all day to make sure they had enough food to eat, to make sure that they could live properly.
That's quite amazing. So Ruth left her own country to help Naomi, worked incredibly hard to make sure Naomi was looked after. That is amazing. And also, she also then became a follower of God.
Yeah, Ruth didn't know God before, and then when she went and lived with Naomi, she decided to worship Naomi's God, which is our God. So she said to Naomi, "I'm going to come with you, and your God will be my God."
So she was very brave, wasn't she?
Very brave indeed.
And now, before we hear the second part of Ruth, we're going to have a song. And I hope it's got actions in it, because I really like it.
I love actions.
Shall we find out if it's got actions so we can do some actions? Would be wonderful. Bye-bye.
See you later.
No, I won't be afraid. You are with me. You are right beside me every day. Even when it feels like everything's going wrong, I can look up to you, God, and find my strength. Your love is
brilliant song
That
that
was a
was.
great song.
Did you enjoy it? I hope you did. Now we're going to finish off the story of Ruth.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. So, Reverend Layla, what happens next? I'm ready to find out.
Well, you might not have known this from the video, but Ruth and Boaz get married.
How wonderful, isn't that lovely?
And they have a baby. And that baby turns out to be the granddad of King David.
Now remind me who King David is.
Well, David, you might remember him as the little boy who killed a giant
That
with
David.
his slingshot.
David and Goliath.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? Hang on a minute. Aren't we going to find out about David and Goliath next week?
That's right. Next week our family service is about David and Goliath.
Oh, I am looking forward to that because the giant's very big, David's very small, and he is so brave, just like Ruth was brave. That's really exciting.
Exactly. So we're going to find out more about God's very brave people.
How exciting. Hang on a minute. Is that Reverend Penny zooming in? I think it is. I can see her coming closer, and she's going to give us this week's challenge and this week's prayer. Hello, Reverend Penny.
Hello, it's lovely to see you again this week. Well, we've been hearing about a really brave person, haven't we, from Reverend Mark and Reverend Layla. She was very brave moving away from home. Do you think so? I do. And she started to worship God too. So 2 new things for Ruth and great big things. There are lots of other people, though, who figure in her life story that we hear about, of course, just like we have lots of people in our lives. Now, what do you think this week's challenge might be? Thinking of Ruth? Well, we'd like you to think about the people who are really, really, really important in your life story and say a big thank you prayer to God for those people each day of this week. So you need to think hard, don't you, about who it is you want to say a prayer for, a thank you prayer for to God. And now we're going to have our prayer together. So put your hands together, close your eyes or look at something. Keep looking at it and concentrate. Dear God, we thank you for Ruth, for the fact that she was so brave moving away from home and that she started to worship you. Help us to worship you. Help us to pray to you. And as we ask that, we thank you for all the people in our life stories who are so very, very, very important to us.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Penny, for that great challenge
And prayer. Thank you. It's time now to say goodbye, but we hope to see you next week when we hear about David and Goliath. So we will see you next week. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.